guys! So here we are again today, and in this channel where we review books. And this is exactly what I'm doing today. I am reviewing a book that I just finished recently, so the feelings are still very fresh and I wanted to film this ASAP. And this book you've seen in my previous video, the Q&A. It was the book I was currently reading. I will leave you that video somewhere in there, here or at the end. You can go and check it. And the book is A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith. I don't know, but you might have heard of this book before, or I don't know, heard some character in movies talk about it, or seen it before, because it's an American classic. And this story follows the life of young Francie Nolan, a young girl in the Brooklyn of the turn of the century. So from the beginning of the 1900s all the way through the beginning of the century and the early years of the century, going to World War I, and then yeah, basically it stops there. This book follows her life, and it's a coming out of age story following Francie. This is clearly one of these books that are plotless. There is no plot. There is nothing that happened and then we follow this thing being solved, or yeah, a specific moment where the story picks up. This is plotless. This is just following the life of young Francie, following her childhood and her early teens all the way to early womanhood. Okay. I already have all the feels from this book, because, I mean, it made me cry. Of course it made me cry. I mean, you know, just typical day in my life when I cry in the train or in the bus while reading the book. This book is actually an autobiography. The author herself said that she wrote it as an autobiography at the beginning. She was telling the story of her life, but a publisher, or the publisher that was at the end chosen to publish the book, asked her to add this element of fiction and present it and sell it as fiction instead of autobiography. So this is why now it's kind of considered as a fiction, but it is actually an autobiography of the author herself. Now, why is this book so special? This book is so true, so real, so raw. Francie grew up in an extremely poor family, from a father who's Irish, who's first generation American from immigrant parents from Ireland, and a mother who is first generation American from parents who are Austrians. Now this is such an interesting and intricate moment in history that I'm really interested in, and that is the time of the immigration towards the US. You know that at the end of the 17th century, 18th century, a lot of people from all across Europe migrated to the United States. Now this book, when telling the story of her parents, really shed the lights on immigration and this transition between immigrants and first generation Americans that now make up the America we know. And I think that it's really important to remind ourselves that this is a land of immigration, and it's important to read these kind of books, especially right now. I love that element, and the story is set in Brooklyn. Now, I have had the chance to go to New York when I was studying abroad in the United States, and I have loved Brooklyn. You could feel the history, you could feel everything that went through the streets, the walls, and it was so vivid, and I loved that neighborhood. At that time it was very separate from New York, and Francie grows there and she loves it so much, and I loved seeing all these people from all over the world mixing in this Brooklyn. So there are a lot of Irish people, German, Jews, there are Austrians, so Italians, and you know, they have different businesses and they interact with each other. They're either neighbors or customers to each other, or there is this big dynamics with these people coming everywhere to America, to this land of the free and democratic land where they want to succeed and make a living worth fighting for, or a life worth living for their families. And I love that element of multicultural diversity into this neighborhood of Brooklyn. Now the main character, Francie, she for sure she grew up in a family extremely poor, but she's such a nice, compassionate kid that grows to love reading and find a refuge in her books. And she described how she spent her Saturday on the fire escape of her house, very iconic fire escape in Brooklyn in New York, reading her books. We're also introduced to her little brother, her mom, her father, and we have a background story for all of these characters, so it gives it a little bit a feel of literary fiction as well. I loved her relationship with her father. I loved the character of her father. It was so sad at some point. One of my favorite things about this book was the relationship and how the author herself, who's Francie actually, described this relationship she has with this father she loves so much, and also this very complicated relationship with her mother, a mom that actually admits loving her son more than Francie, but nonetheless she treats them very equally, very fairly. Sometimes you could tell, you can feel this difference, but she's a very fair woman. I loved her character. Her name is Katie Romley. We're also introduced to her side of the family, so they're like these aunts, Francie's aunt Cece is one of my favorite characters. All these characters, we get a little sneak peek into their life. We are introduced so well to the characters. I loved it so much. It's a very, very deep exploration. Now Francie is one of those characters that are beloved in American literature. It reminds you maybe of, I don't know, Jo from Little Women, or from the Canadian side, Anne of Green Gables. And all of these are little girls that want to be authors, want to write, want to travel, like these kind of girls that read so much when they were kids. Despite their harsh conditions, they know that there is a world beyond, things that you only know when you read a lot as a child. And this is one of the similarities between them, but Francie's life is so much more down to earth and realistic. And the balance in this book between the harshness of their life, living in Brooklyn, like being dirty, being poor all the time, not having enough food to eat, all those hardship, all these really critical moments that they go through, and these warm, heartfelt moments between her and her father, her reading, her interacting with her brother, her going to this library. The balance between the harshness and the warm moment is what makes the book so realistic, so relatable, and what makes it look like a life that any of us could be having. And I love that element so much. I've cried because as we follow her growing up, things happen. The way she speaks about her father, the development of her character was so good. Really how she grew to be, or to do things that she really wanted to do despite their really harsh conditions, that sometimes you're just like, oh, this kid and this family manages to get places that she wanted to get to, and you see her fighting for what she thinks is right, and you see her fighting for what she thinks she deserves. And I think it's a very important element. It is beautifully written. Betty Smith is a great author. I love the writing. There's a lot of folkloric outlooks on the Brooklyn of that time, a lot of folk music, either Irish music, German music, and songs written in the book, songs that her father would sing all the time because he was a singer. It's beautiful, it's so human, it's so down to earth, it's so heartfelt, it's so believable, and it really, you know, one of those books that make you practice your empathy for humans. I loved it, and I would highly recommend it, and I give it a 5-star, and it's one of my favorites so far this year. I just realized that I think I just love books about people. I was reading it and I was like, I either adore semi-biographies, semi-autobiographies, memoirs, autobiographies, literary fiction. I love books with plots. I think it's interesting, but I always end up falling in love with books that just follow the life of people, and when they're beautifully written and written in a really good way, they just sweep me away. I loved it so much. This is when I realized that, okay, I think I see my current favorite genre right here. I can see it, like I can feel it. I loved it, and yeah, I would recommend it for you guys. Really highly recommend it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope I gave you an idea about it and that you want to pick it up. Especially if you know that you're also the kind of person that enjoyed following characters, just growing, seeing things, fighting for what they want. You see their battles in life, you see them becoming. I think that this one is for you. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the book today. Let me know if you've read it or if you have it on a TBR, and if you have read it, what kind of books do you think I should read next that are quite similar but maybe from a different culture, from a different outlook other than the American culture, maybe? All cultures are good, I mean, this is why we're reading books, isn't it? So that's pretty much it. I don't want to finish the video. See guys, I want to talk to you more. This is why I'm trying to find something else to say, even though I'm like, okay, I did my job here. I was here to speak about the book, and there you go, the book is spoken about. Okay, done with ramblings. Okay guys, thank you so much for your support and for all the love you showed me on my previous video. I really appreciate it. Leave me all your comments down below, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed, and follow me on Instagram where some of the other fun happens. And thank you guys for everything, and I will see you on my next video. Bye!